Okay, welcome to your topic 6 and topic 7 video. I put these together because of for the sake of time. I'm gonna go a little fast through this. Actually, I won't go fast. I'll take my time. But if it is going too slow for you, go ahead and fast it up. It's not even right. Speed it up with the bar at the bottom, where you can make you can make the speed of the video faster. Now, I'm actually not going to teach the topic 6 notes first. I'm going to teach topic 7 first, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to teach you topic 7, and then I'm going to jump to topic 6 because this is involving calculators. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Topic 6, solve by factoring. Let me quickly explain what we're doing. So remember, a graph. Whoa. So we have this graph, right? We can have the parent function that looks like this. Actually, let me go up to topic here. So types of solutions. So remember, our parabola, our parent function looks like this. This is just a reminder. Our parent function looks like this. Okay, but this is not always the case. Sometimes we have two solutions, and two solutions could look many ways, but as long as your graph is touching or crossing your x-axis twice, this is an example of two solutions. When do you have an example of one solution? When your graph is just barely touching your x-axis. So this is an example. It's touching it, but it's just touching it one time. So it's an example of one solution. And these are examples of like no solutions, right? We can have many of these, but like here are two different graphs where they're never touching your x-axis. So you have no solutions. So what we're trying to figure out is, what are these x values? That's what we're trying to figure out today. What are these x values? And how to do it algebraically, right? And we'll show you on the calculator. So I'm trying to figure out, do I have two solutions? What are those x's? And do I have one solution? And what is that x? So let's go ahead and look this up. One way to find these x's, to find the x-intercepts, is to solve by factoring. If you don't remember factoring, I'm gonna remind you. So first, here are the steps. We have set the equation equal to 0, factor, set each factor equal to 0, then solve. All right, so because we're trying to find a 0, so we would set it equal to 0. So here's what I mean. So we have 0 equal to x squared plus 3x minus 10. You're going to see how that comes into play in a minute. Don't freak out. I'll show you how that comes into play in a minute. So let's just factor this right here like we normally factor it. Now, if you don't remember how to factor, let me remind you. So we draw our little x factor, right? We draw x factor here. And then we say what multiplies to give me this number, adds up to give me that number, and this is a times c, and b goes down here. So let's think about this. What numbers do we have? We have a times c is going to be negative 10. And then we have 3 that goes here. So if I think about my multiples of 10, we have 1 and 10, 2 and 5. And that's it, right? 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Okay, so then we have to figure out what are my multiples. If I have 1 and 10, add or subtract does not give me that. If I add or subtract 2 and 5, that does give me that, right? So let's put 2 and 5 here. One of these needs to be a negative, right? Because if I multiply two positive numbers, I don't get a negative. If I multiply two negative numbers, I don't get a negative. So one has to be negative, one has to be positive. If I need a positive 3, that must mean I must have a negative 2. All right, cool. Now remember here, this is where we go ahead and substitute everything. So the reason why I did that was because I wanted to break up this 3x. I broke up this 3x into two terms now. So I have a negative 2x and a positive 5x. So I put a plus here. Right? Bring down what we haven't used yet. We haven't used a negative 10, and we haven't used x squared. Then here's that grouping method, right? We say, what do the first two have in common that I can factor out? What do the last two have in common that I can factor out? And we're trying to get these parentheses to match. All right, so put equal to 0. Okay, so if I want to look at the first part, what do the first two have in common that I can factor out? All I see is an x. So if I factor out an x between, let me actually highlight this so we can see the differences. So between here and here, and then between here and here. These are the two parentheses. All right, all I see is the x that they have in common. So I'm going to factor out an x. So when I factor out an x squared divided by x just gives me 1x here, minus 2. All right, cool. Now remember, I want this parentheses on this side to match that, right? So let's go ahead and see what do they have in common. They both have a 5 in common that I can factor out. I'm going to factor out a positive 5 and see if that works. Then I get x minus 2. Awesome. Now, if these two parentheses match, I can combine them into one. So I have x minus 2 parentheses, then I have x plus 5, because remember, the leftover gets its own parentheses, right? This and this here, they become 1. All right. Awesome. Now, that was step number 1. Numero uno, step 1. Step 2 is we need to set this factor equal to 0 and solve, and this factor equal to 0 and solve. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I'm going to set, so I have two factors that I need to set equal to 0. So I have, and I'm going to drop the parentheses now. So I have 0x minus 2. There's one of them. I'm going to draw my little dash line. It's going to confuse. 0 equals to x plus 5. Here is why. I'm trying to solve for x because then these are my solutions. X equals whatever will give me my solution. So basically the question is, how do I get x by itself, right? What do I need to do? How do I cancel out this negative 2, x minus 2, so I get x by itself, and I want a positive x. The same goes on this side. How do I cancel out that? So let's go ahead and figure this out. If I want to cancel out this negative 2, we have to add 2 to both sides. If I add 2 to both sides, right? What do I have? I have x is left on this side, cool, and then I have a positive 2. And there goes one of your x-intercepts. And the same goes here. How do I cancel out this positive 5? I'm going to subtract 5 from here, and I'm also going to subtract 5 from here, right? And then what do I have left? I have x equals negative 5. Bam. So when I'm trying to look at my solutions for this, right, if I was to draw that picture, if I was to plug this into the calculator, right, and then in the the graph went something like this, what of my x-intercepts would be? This would be negative 5, and this would be 2. That's what we're doing, okay? That's using the x factor method. So I'm going to do that again a little faster, and then I'm going to show you a way using the calculator in a minute, okay? So let's go down to, I'm just going to go down to this one right here, using the x factor method. Use the AC method, simplify, don't worry about moving A. All right, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's try it again. So remember, I want to figure out, hey, what are my x-intercepts? And also, guys, my bad. Since I have 2 different answers, 2 and negative 5, I have 2 solutions here. So here are 2 solutions. All right, cool. Let's try this one more time. This is the x factor method. All right, so the same goes. I see, remember, let's do our x here. We say time goes up here, addition goes up here, A times C goes here, and B. All right, so let's try this now. So we know A times C is what? So 3 times a negative 10 is a negative 30. And then 13 goes down here. So again, we ask ourselves, what multiplies to give us a negative 30 but adds up to give me 13? Right off the bat, I can think of 3 and 10. I already know 3 and 10. One of these has to be negative. One of these has to be negative? But 3 and 10 doesn't work. Here's why 3 and 10 doesn't work. Because if I add or subtract one of these, I won't get negative 30. So 3 and 10 does not work. I'm thinking 15 and 2 works. 15 and 2 works, yep. And then it has to be a negative 2. All right, cool. Saving a bunch of time, just trying to hurry up and get this done. Now that I know my factors, let's go ahead and do the same steps, guys, same steps. I know 15 and 2 work. Positive 15 and negative 2. So why did I do that? I wanted to separate this middle term into 2 different terms. So now I have positive 15x, and I also have a negative 2x. Bring down what we haven't used. We haven't used a negative 10, and we haven't used this 3x squared. Same rules apply. What do they have in common? That we can factor out, and then that's it. So we have these to look at, and we have these to look at. We want the same parentheses. All right, so I know 3x squared plus 15x. What do they have in common? I know they have a 3 that I can factor out, and I can factor out an x. So what is left? I know I have 1x left here plus 5. All right, awesome. What does this right side have in common? They have a, so if I take out a positive 2, let's see. Take out a positive 2, what happens? I'm left with negative x minus 5. My issue is that these signs are different than these signs. So I don't want to take out a positive 2. I want to take out a negative 2. Because if I take out a negative 2, right? Oops, sorry. If I take out a negative 2, then what I'm really doing is dividing this by negative 2 and dividing this by negative 2. And a negative divided by negative is a positive, which flips my signs, which is what I wanted. All right, so man, why does it keep moving? Equal to 0. Okay, cool. So now that I have these two parentheses matching, they become 1. So we have x plus 5 becomes 1 factor. Another factor is 3x minus 2, all right, equals 0. All right, and the same rules apply. Once we have these two separate parentheses, we want to separate them into their own, basically like equation. So we have x plus 5 equal to 0, and we have 3x minus 2 equal to 0, right? So this becomes 1, and so this came down here, and this separate. And all I have to do is solve for x. And once I've solved for x, I know what my x-intercepts are. So for here, if I was to get x by itself, I'd have to subtract 5 here, and I would have to subtract 5 here. So then, bam, I have x equals negative 5. So here's one solution. All right, this one's going to be a little more tricky because not only do I have to add or subtract, I also have to divide because my x has a coefficient. So step 1 would be subtract 2, subtract 2. Then I'd have 3x equal to negative 2. But if I want to get x by itself, because I don't want 3x, I need to divide by a 3 here, divide by a 3 here. Therefore, I have x equals to negative 2 over 3. And then there's my other solution. So I have two solutions. So that is the X factor method. That's the way that we do this. I would encourage you guys to pause the video, try to do this one yourself, and then once you've done that, go ahead and play it. I'm just going to do this last example right here, using the X factor method, and then you guys can. Well, I'll go to the next video. I'll go to the next topic. My bad. Let's go. All right, cool. So X factor method real quick. We know we go here, times plus A times C, B goes here. Real quick, let's do the GCF on this one, right? Greatest common factor. This was something that we talked about before. What do these all have in common, real quick, that I can factor out? I know 3 divides into all of these, right? So that means if I factor out a 3, what I'm actually left with is x squared. I'm just dividing each one of these by 3. Plus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Now, here's what I want to do. You need to just factor this center part. Let's just factor this center part right here. So now that I'm going to factor that, let's go ahead and do that. So, whoa. So A times C, it's just still going to be negative 4, right? So we have negative 4 here. We have positive 3 here. What two numbers multiply to give me a negative 4 but add up to give me 3? Only factors of 4 are 1 and 4, 2 and 2. 2 and 2 does not work, so it has to be either 1 and 4. All right, and then we need a positive 3 when we add them up, so it has to be a negative 1. Now, let me just say this to you guys. Remember, whenever this number in the very front is a positive 1, we can just go ahead and write my final answer using that. So here is what I have. I have 3 parentheses, and then one of them is going to be x minus 1, and the other one's going to be x, geez, what's happening, plus 4 equal to 0. Bam. All right, so there we go. There's that right there. And then here's what we want to do now is in order for us to find our factors, I would say just kind of dismiss this part right here, this 3, because we only care about what's inside of the parentheses. That's what we really care about. So now what I need you guys to do is just only set what's inside of the parentheses equal to 0. So set this equal to 0 and set this equal to 0. All right, so let's go and do that real quick. Let's separate them. Only what's inside the parentheses. So now we have x minus 1 equal to 0, and we also have x plus 4 equal to 0. All right, let's solve this. How would I get x by itself? Here I'd have to add 1, x equals 1. Bam, there's one of my x-intercepts, so I have 2 solutions here. What do I have to do? Subtract 4, x equals negative 4. Bam. All right, so that is when we're finding our solutions for that. Now this next one, guys, this topic 6 I'm about to do, it's going to be so much quicker, and it's going to be using the calculator, okay? So please pay attention. Here we go. Here's topic 6. Now, just a reminder, we either have two roots or two solutions or zeros or x-intercepts, right? So here, 2 would look like that. We have one solution or we have no solutions. Here's how you use the calculator, okay? So we're going to plug it in. So let's take this one, for instance, right here. Let's take this one. I'm going to pull my calculator up. Whoa, where's my calculator at? Bam, bam. Here we go. Put this up. Here we go. Bam, bam. All right, cool. Let's go and get started. We're going to graph it like we normally would, right? So go ahead and hit y equals. I need to clear out what I have here. We're going to hit x squared, bam, plus 4x minus 5. All right, now I'm going to hit graph. Now that I've graphed it, here's what my graph looks like. Now what I need to figure out is what are my two solutions? Where does this blue line cross my x-axis? Here's how you do that. You have to hit second trace, and we need to find my zeros. You see where it says 0, this right here, number 2. So you hit number 2, and then it says left bound and right bound. Your guys is the same. If you see if I can move my cursor right here, I just basically need to move it all the way to the left, right this way, and press enter. So it needs to scan in between there, and then I need to hit, I think I have to do them individually. Let's see. Probably not. Let's find out. So I'm going to hit all the way up here because I know it crosses there. So we do that. And it tells me I have zeros at, I have 2 of them, right? So one of them is -5, 1. What is the other one? So -5, 1. What is the other 0? It doesn't tell me, huh? So there's one here, and then there's a, it tells me right here. My bad. I don't know what I'm reading. All right. So if you see on that second line, it says zeros. It tells me both of my zeros. It says x equals -5 and x equals 1. My bad. So my zeros for here are x equals -5 and x equals 1. So let me explain what we just did. So this right here, what I just found was exactly what we did down here. But I was showing you how to do it algebraically. Here, you see how it's so much faster using the calculator? All I did was plug this in, and I tried to find what my zeros were, and I got x equals 1, x equals 5, or -5. And then for me to quickly sketch this, where's x equals -5? Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then x equals 1. And we know it's concave up based off my picture. I would just kind of graph something rough like that, and then there's your answer. Now, let me explain how to work backwards from this. What I mean is, let's say I wanted you to find me your factors for this, but you want to use your calculator. This is how you would do that. Okay, here's how you would do that. First, you would have to plug it in and find out what is your x equal to. This says x equals to -5 and x equals to 1. All right, cool. Then, once you have that, let's work backwards. How would I move this 1 to the other side to make it a parentheses, and how would I move that to the other side to make it, one on the one side to make it parentheses? Here's how you would do that. Right? If I want to cancel out the 1 on this side to move it to the other side, I would have to do -1, -1. Now, since x and -1 are not like terms, they just get pushed together. So now I have x minus 1 equals 0, right? Because +1 minus 1, that goes to 0. And then here is one of my factors, x minus 1. That's one of my factors, right? Now let's do this one. How would I cancel out this 5? I would add 5 here, add 5 here. Then what do I have? I have x plus 5 equals 0. Well, there's one of my factors right here, x plus 5. Now I know my two factors. This times that will give me this. That's what we just did, right? Because remember, I had to set it equal to 0. You see where I had to set them equal to 0 right here, solve and work, and then get x. It's the same thing, same thing. So let's try this a few more times. I know this video is a little long, guys, but please, it's very, very helpful. All right. Again, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find my roots, and then I'm going to, we're going to find the factors super easily. So y equals, clear what I have. I'm going to hit x squared minus 2x plus 1. All right, cool. Hit graph. All right, so then I know my graph, it looks like it only touches it one time. We're about to find out. So everyone hit second trace. I didn't hit my 0, so hit 2. So now we gotta do left bound and right bound to tell her what to scan between. I know for sure this is far enough to the left. I'm gonna go this way. What's far enough to the right? It looks like I only have 1. Bam. And then enter. 4, Oh, so this is my, so here's the issue right now. The 0 for this one right here, is that even right? Let me just check. Second trace 2. I think I did this wrong. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. Bam. Sorry, guys. Bam. That can't be the 0. Second trace 3 minimum. I guess that's what it is. My bad, my bad. I know I'm taking a lot of time. But yeah, that's what it is. -3. Yeah, -3, 1. Hold on, let me just solve this factor. If I wanted to factor this real quick, it would be 1, -2, -1, -1. Why is this not working out? That's so weird. Let me see. Second plus 7, 1, 2. Clear. Y equals. Why is it not working out? Right? X squared minus 2x plus 1. Graph. Second trace. I need my 0. Enter. Enter. Yeah, that's weird. All right. So if I was to do this, my factors would be, right, we have x squared minus 2x. It would have to be two negatives ones because a -1 times a -1 is a +1, a -1 times a negative, or plus a -1 is a -2. So my factors are this here. So we have x minus 1, x minus 1. Now if I was to set both of these equal to 0, so there goes that one, and here's this the other one, x minus 1 equal to 0. How would I solve this? I want to get x's by himself. So I'd have to add 1 here, right? So now I have x equals +1, and I'm gonna get the same here, x equals +1. So even though I have two answers that are equal to 1, I only have one solution. The only answer is just x equals 1 because this is the same answer. So this one didn't work out too well. I don't know if my calculator is just crap. I don't know what's wrong with it right now. So let's try this one down here. Actually, let's just try this one real quick. Let's see if I can work backwards and find my solution. So y equals, clear that out, -3x squared plus 6x. Hit graph. Bam. Let's figure out my solutions. So it's second trace. I want to hit my zeros. Yes. So let's go left bound. Enter. Let's go right bound. Enter. So I have two zeros, one at 0 and one at 2. All right. So then here we go. We have x equals 0 and x equal 2. And there are your zeros right there. And then that completes your tutorial for how to solve by graphing on the calculator, okay? So I know this video took a long time. Let me just quickly explain what we did, right? Topic 7 was basically solved by factoring. You got this. We did the x factor. When we did the x factor, we were trying to come up with this right here, those two factors. Once we did that, we needed to set each one of them equal to 0 and then solve for x. Because this will tell us, oh, x equals 2, that's one of your x-intercepts. X equals -5, that's one of your x-intercepts. Now, I showed you guys a shortcut using the calculator where if you plug this directly into the calculator, right, I'll bring it up one more time. You plug that directly into the calculator, and then you hit graph. You're going to come up with a picture something like this. Then you hit second trace, because you need to find your roots. But in this case, they're not called roots, they're called zeros on the calculator. So you find your zeros, and you have to do left bound and right bound. So I got two zeros like down here, right? And then so like again, if I wanted to work backwards here, I can't add anything to this one right here to make it one of my factors, but I could add something to that one. But that concludes your guys' video for today.